Hey folks, welcome back for another episode of Why Healthcare with Bannock Healthcare. We have another special guest today. We're going to let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Mechel. I'm a registered nurse.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mechel. It's great to have you. So we're going to start off with the question of the hour. Why did you choose healthcare?
I chose healthcare probably when I was 13 years old. I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician initially, and I did a summer of doing candy striper in a military hospital, and I was able to see what the interaction was in the hospital, and I thought, maybe not a pediatrician. And I still had that desire for healthcare. I just didn't know in what facet. So, and it's one of those things where I can't really say what drew me to it or why. I just knew that that was something I wanted to do. And so as the years went on, I did pharmacy tech, and then I was a medical secretary. And it wasn't until after I had my son and a nurse was helping me the morning after I had a C-section to take a shower. And I went in the shower by myself, and she came in, got on her hands and knees, and helped me take a shower. And I was like, no, I got it. But she was insistent on helping me. And it just, like, literally, if you could, the proverbial light went off, and it was just like, that's what I want to do. I want to be a nurse, because I feel like you make the most difference as a nurse. And that has been my experience up until this point.
Wow, that's great that you were able to have so many different experiences through your healthcare journey. Mm-hmm. What would you say has been your most rewarding part of that journey?
Oh boy. So it's very hard to hone it down to one rewarding thing. There's multiple rewarding things when you're engaged in the purpose of helping people. And I think that's the biggest benefit and reward to me that keeps me, desiring to come back. I had a patient last week ask me, are you burnt out yet? And I was like, no. I'm like, so what? And I had to, kind of ask him, what makes you think, what was burned out look like to you? And he's like, I don't know. I know I'd be burned out if I was a nurse because you guys got too much to do. And I was just like, okay. And he's from, the outside looking in, but I'm on the inside. And I think being on the inside, like I said, there's so much to offer when you're helping people in whatever facet it's in when you're doing healthcare, specifically as a nurse. Because people just have needs as simple as wanting a sandwich to saving a life, or just conveying a message to a family member, especially now during the times where things are shut down and there's not a lot of visiting. So it's very different, and it's hard not having loved ones right there, which is a benefit to both healthcare professionals as well as the patient. And so just a simple phone call and being able to help them set up a video chat for our older patients that don't normally FaceTime or do any kind of video chatting. And so they can see their loved one as well as, hear them. And just those simple human connections are rewarding enough for me.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I want to touch on the last part of what you said, benefiting both the healthcare worker and the patient. Obviously, in situations like CPR, you're conveying a benefit onto that patient, but like you said, you're also getting the opportunity to help save a life. So can you tell us a little bit about the first time that you performed CPR and what that was like?
Well, I don't quite remember the first time because as a medical secretary, I run into the room to help with codes as well as a nurse intern. While I was in nursing school, I was afforded the opportunity to work in the ICU as a nurse intern, which was great because that's where I ended up, is in the ICU. And as a nurse intern, I was able to get the experience with the nurses that had the experience. Like, you see it in a book, but you see it applied. And the first time that I can remember in the ICU was the patient was, not unstable, which is traditionally what you see is somebody become unstable, and it was all of a sudden, and it's just me and a nurse. And at this particular time, the nurse just needed me to do what they couldn't do because they only got 2 hands. And so it was like, grab this, do this. And then it was, and I've seen it before because I've taken the class or I've learned about it in a book, but to actually apply it, and it's just me and you until some help arrives, it was very, very different. And there's adrenaline pumping, and there's something to having kinetic practice, because that memory kicks in when that adrenaline is in overdrive. You know what to do even though you don't know what to do because you've done it before. So that was, I think, the most, the one time that I felt that I can remember feeling like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it because I don't know what to do. And the patient had a successful outcome because help wasn't far away. They came eventually. So me and this one nurse were able to do the most important parts, is which putting the backboard under the patient and starting compressions. That, and that was years ago, but even to this day, that's still one of the most important things to do, is to start compressions. So
yeah, I definitely understand that, and one part of what you talked about, being thrown into that situation, probably was, well, you talked about it. Can you talk about being thrown into your most challenging situation since you've been in the healthcare industry? What did that look like?
So, challenging. Healthcare as a whole is challenging. And being fit for the challenge is the other part. There's gonna be challenges daily, and the question that you'll encounter every day is, are you ready for the challenge? And you have to be, because they come in different, at different levels. The challenge is easy or it's hard. My most recent hardest challenge I recall is dealing with a patient that, knowing that the patient is gonna meet the end of life, even though the family is still fighting and wants to see that patient live. That's the most challenging part, is to allow them an acceptable amount of time to come to terms within the clinical constraints of being able to give them that time, and keeping this patient stable enough where they didn't, eventually come, the end didn't eventually come, because you could see it when you've done everything you can do for the patient. They're on every drip. You've done everything invasively that you can that the patient will tolerate, and their patient's not improving, and it's not rocket science. You know that this patient is not gonna make it, and you don't stop anything. You just continue updating the family and doing it in a ginger way that isn't abrasive, but you're giving them the facts, and you're giving it to them in a way that they can, and giving them time to digest what you're saying. Because I personally have experienced tragedy with my own loved ones, and you need time to process it. And no matter what someone's saying, a lot of times it literally is like Charlie Brown, womp womp womp, and you need time to like sit back and be like, okay, so they said and they did, and then we were able to give the family time. They processed it, and then when the time came, we didn't have to do more damage to the patient by continuing to do CPR or anything. We were able to peacefully let the patient go, with the family having said their goodbyes, their family having been, everyone being there, that had to come in from out of town. And that is most satisfying in those challenges, is to be able to see the family say their last words, and it kind of gives them a certain type of closure that you don't normally get when it's sudden and they die on, like out in the field, don't get to come to the hospital. They get time to say goodbye, and then you can be with the patient, and you can talk to the patient and let them know it's okay to go, and the patient will go, and you can be at peace that you did everything that was within your power, and you left the rest up to a greater power.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. I'm sure it's good to be able to have that perspective, because so often when the patients come in, they're coming in on their most challenging day, and that's every single day for people in the healthcare industry.
Their worst day.
Yeah. Yes. So it's good that you're able to share that with those watching and those that are interested in stepping into this practice. Lastly, I just want to talk about something that you touched on in the answer before, kinetic practice. Our final question is, how has education played a role throughout your career? And you touched a little bit on that earlier when you said kinetic practice, right? You need the classroom, but you also need to get hands-on. But can you talk some more about that transition and what it looks like in practice?
So education is definitely necessary. It's the heartbeat of what we do. Without it, you could have a good intention of helping someone, but if you don't have the right education, you're gonna do more harm than good. So that's the importance of education. And it shouldn't be if you wanna do the right thing, it should be mandated. You have to do the right thing, so you have to have education. And I'm glad it's that way, because we all intend on doing well. I don't think anyone comes into healthcare with the intention of doing harm, but you have to understand, one, you need to practice it. When you read about it and you take the test, you still need to put your hands to memory. You have it in your brain, but then you need to put your body in motion so that you remember what it looks like to, first of all, grab the suction, put the patient flat, make sure you have a hard surface underneath them, start compressions, keep your elbows locked. You have to practice all of that. You read it and you have all these little boxes. If here, then go there, and then go there. But you need to practice it so you know how to do it. Because time is of the essence. So when you practice it and you're educated, and you don't just do it one time and take the class one time, you're gonna have to take the class more than once, more than twice, and then you get more proficient at it. And even in 14 years of nursing, still having to keep up my education is important, because there are things you forget. Things that you don't have to do on a regular basis, even in critical care or in any facet of healthcare. If you're doing something as simple as checking someone's blood pressure, or you're doing something as significant as breathing for someone, you still need to have the right education, and you need to have it current. It's not just, oh, I took that class once, or I did it before. You need to be able to say that I recently had my refresher course. All of that is important in sustaining you as a successful provider, and as someone that's going to eventually teach people, so you're not teaching the wrong thing.
Yes. Thanks. Thank you for sharing that. We definitely here at Bannock Healthcare pride ourselves on being sure that we can give quality instruction and quality education. So it's important that you noted that.
Yes.
Before we go, though, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to give any advice you might have for those wanting to start a career in healthcare.
My advice would be to just remember that you're in the service of others. People look at the healthcare industry, or just in general, when you're looking for what do I want to be in life, they look at what can I make monetarily. And it's not just that. That's part of it. But at the heart of it, in my opinion, is knowing that you're helping someone, another human. So having that willingness to help someone put lotion on their feet, to have that willingness to help someone use the restroom, because there's times where people are sick, they can't do the simplest things for themselves. So you have to put yourself at a humble mindset that whatever it is, I will help you. That's what made the light go off for me at the most humblest moment, where someone's willing to help me take a shower after having a baby and major surgery. To have that baby, she didn't think twice about getting on her knees to help me where I couldn't reach, because I couldn't reach. So just being humble and really remembering you're helping humans, and just keeping that at the forefront of every endeavor you take in healthcare.
Thank you. That's a great way to end this session of Why Healthcare. We want to thank you for being a guest this time around. We really appreciate you coming and talking to everyone that might be interested in starting out their healthcare career. Before you go, And for those watching, we just want to remind you that Lifesavers come in all different flavors. And thank you for tuning in. So we hope that you tune in again next week.
Thank you.